What's up, everybody? This is Victory with another Princess Connect video. Today we are going to be doing the hard dungeon, Deepwood Oak. This is my first ever attempt at the dungeon. I just cleared level 5, which is what you have to do to unlock it. And we're just going to go through and show you all of the tricks and tips that you can use, especially as a free-to-play player, for giving yourself a leg up in this dungeon. You can see the team I'm picking out. This is my normal campaign clearing team. It's got Suzuna as my main damage, then Kokoro and Yukari and Yui as supports, with Priconne as the tank. And they are all about level 45 or level 46. And I should, if I remember correctly, they have most of their gear on them for the next rank up, but they should be between ranks 4 and 5. So with Dungeon, of course, you're going to be facing a lot of player teams that are intentionally weaker than yours as you go up the dungeon, and they gradually get stronger as you go. For the most part, you can expect to take on the first 4 or 5 without taking any significant damage, especially because you do get some heals at the end of each fight, as you can see in these opening fights here. But what will happen is, as the fights get tougher, your tank in particular is going to start taking more damage than you can heal during the fight. And so that's where a couple of these free-to-play tricks come in. The first trick is that when you are in a fight, if something goes wrong and you have a unit that you put in and they go faster than you thought, and then all of a sudden your whole team is getting wrecked, what you can do is called retreat scumming, or other people might call it something else, but basically you retreat from the fight and everything resets to the way it was before the fight started. So if a fight doesn't go the way you expected it to, and I'll demonstrate this technique in this run, if a fight doesn't go the way you expected it to, just make sure that you hit the menu button in the top right and retreat before the fight ends. And that way you get all your units back and you can try a different strategy, take a support with you, or whatever you need to do to make that fight turn out better for you. Okay, so that's the first trick to help you get to the boss in a dungeon. The second trick that I'm going to demonstrate in this video is simply having a guild with members who are stronger than you. And my advice to you there is just find a guild who has some people who have been playing since the soft launch. If you're like me, you started playing in January, where a lot of people were in the soft launch, and that means basically they got an extra month of progression on everyone else because they were essentially playing in like you might call it the closed beta or whatever. So if you have a guild that has some people from soft launch in it, they should have some units that are levels 50 to 60. I've even seen some people who are level 65 plus. And if you use one of their units as your tank, Nozomi is a particularly good one that I've been using. That's the one I use in this run, is my guild leader's Nozomi. Or if you have someone who has a Miyako, or some people call her Pudding, those are both really good tanks that if you have one level 60 plus in your guild from soft launch, you can use them as your support tank for the cost of some mana, and they will basically carry you through the rest of the dungeon once your main tank gives out. The other thing is, you'll notice I'm not using them right away. I'm letting my tank take damage in the early rounds, and then when she gets injured, which I think is going to be in floor 5 or 6 here, I'm going to switch over to my guild leader's tank, who is much stronger. My goal there is I don't want that tank to have to take residual damage. I want them to pretty much be fresh when they hit the boss, so I don't want to use them until I need to use them. Priconne just kind of fills in until then. So that saves... a couple of things that does is that saves damage on the strong tank that you're going to be using to help you fight the boss, and it also helps you save your main tank. If you take her off, basically when okay, if I put her in now, she's not going to last through this fight. She's still available for later on in the run in case you need to use multiple teams to beat the boss. So that's the next trick we're going to go into here, is when you get to the boss, there's a few things that happen that you can use to your advantage. One is called the timeout rule, which is that if the battle times out, anyone who is still standing on your side gets to continue fighting. Only units that are knocked out become unusable. So you can build a team similar to mine, where I have 3 healers on this team, basically just a team with a lot of sustainability that can out-heal or close to out-heal the boss. And if they survive that boss round, you can just bring them right back in and continue fighting the boss until his HP is gone. Even if they're not doing a lot of damage, as long as they're not dying, they can keep fighting for as many rounds as you need them to. So that is a trick that I recommend for any content that's a little bit too difficult for you to take in one shot that you're able to retry, like Dungeon. Bring in a really sustain-heavy team so that you can just keep redoing it because your units are surviving the fight. And you'll see this is exactly what I do in this fight here. The other thing that I can recommend to you is if you have several units that you know are going to be good in other content, like if you have PvP units, if you have units you're getting ready for clan battle, go ahead and start raising them up as you are trying to clear dungeons, because let's say you go up against the boss and you don't really, your sustain plan doesn't go well, you get knocked out, then you can just bring in those units, make a team out of them, and finish off the boss with your secondary teams that maybe you didn't design for the dungeon, but they can still get some damage in and finish that boss off. You know, for example, I have a couple of magic attackers that I don't normally use, but they can come in and attack. I have a couple of PvP support units that I can bring in. So if you have about 2 or 3 teams worth of units raised, that can really help you as well in the dungeon. Note, I do not recommend trying to raise every unit you get, because that is going to be a huge drain on your resources. I personally have trouble maintaining more than about 8 units. I have some that I got them up close to where I'm at now, and it'll be a while yet before I can spare any resources to bring them back up to speed, but they at least can function in a fight for me. So you can see here, this is where I'm going to the support tab in the assemble party. That's where you can grab your guild members' dungeon supports. I highly recommend setting those in your guild if you haven't yet. And I'm going to use Nozomi here because she's the highest level out of anyone available to me. The green-haired one that everybody has posted there, that's, I think her name is Miyako. She is also a really good tank. So either of those two, Nozomi or Miyako, that you see, it looks, I guess I didn't actually use her this time around, but she's going to come into play near the end here. But yeah, Miyako and Nozomi are both really good options if your guildmates have a high-level one that you can use to help you get through all of the dungeon floors. Okay, right here is where I do the retreat scumming. So you see, Priconne didn't last as long as I thought she would, and we got some bad luck there. But because I retreated, you'll see this when I start back up, all of my units are back. You know, even though they were knocked out in that fight, that doesn't matter because I retreated from the fight, so the results didn't save. So now, again, I can adjust my strategy, I can bring in the support tank, I can bring in somebody else who is close to their same level that can kind of sub in for my injured units. Because the reason that I don't want to use those injured units, I want to bring them back later to help me finish off the boss. But bringing them in here would be a risk, because if they die here, then I won't be able to use them against the boss. I want to make sure that they stay alive so that they're available if I need them. Okay, and so just to go over all of these again before we get to the boss fight, basically the things that you can do to increase your chances, and this will work for hard dungeon or very hard, is make sure that you retreat if a fight starts to go poorly so that you can adjust your strategy. Make sure that you have a guild whose members can come in and be a little stronger than you and carry you. This mostly applies to free-to-play. If you're a spending player, you should be the strong one carrying other people in your guild, of course. So keep an eye on that retreat button in case you need it. Get into a guild who has strong tanks that you can use to back yourself up, or maybe your gap is DPS, and so guild members who have strong DPS, you can talk to your guild about it, get what you need. I personally only have Priconne as tank, so that's who I need to fill in. And then also have a few extra units raised, about a team's worth extra, that you can bring in as a secondary team to finish off the boss, and have units with a lot of sustainability so that you can rematch the boss if you are able to heal and time out the fight. Okay, so here we go. We're getting ready to take on the boss, and while we're fighting the boss, I'm going to go over this dungeon's boss characteristics. So the boss is called Wise Owl. He's a magic attacker, and his attack pattern is that he will hit you 7 times with a magic attack. Then after the 7th one, he's going to use his Union Burst, which is an area of effect magic attack. Then he'll go back to attacking about 4 more times and use it again. So Some of the things that are helpful against him, any units that can increase magic resistance, or especially Yukari, who everybody should have, has a magic shield. And if you want to get really micro and be smart about this fight, you can actually have Yukari save her shield for right before his Union Burst. The shield will absorb a lot of the damage from it, and then you'll be able to heal up from it easier. But anytime that she uses her shield during the fight is going to be valuable because it's going to be blocking his normal attacks as well as his Union Burst. And the other thing that comes into play here, because it's an area of effect attack, Yui, who is another unit everybody has, her area of effect heal is quite good here, where normally it's a little bit hampered because you're only healing 1 or 2 people, but she can help everyone recover from that attack. Okay, and I take back what I said. It looks like his normal attack is physical, but his Union Burst attack is magical. So you do want to try to time Yukari's shield, if she's someone you're going to use for this fight, so that it hits right before his magic attack hits. And again, you can count the attacks, but I believe it's 7 normal attacks before the first one, and 4 normal attacks before the second one. And here we go. This is what I mean by the timeout rule. So you can see the time's going to run out here, and Nozomi actually still has a lot of her health. I'll be able to use her again with my secondary team to finish off the boss. And that's what we're going to do right here. I'll just pick some more units that can do enough damage to get there. And really, in this case, it's not going to take a lot. But, you know, if you have a couple of units you can do damage, like Carol or Akari or Kaori or whoever, you can put them in, throw another support in behind your tank that you saved or your guild member's tank, and just go right after it again. You know, because you can see his health stays the same between the fights, but you've got a fresh new team, and they may not be as good, but they can get the job done. So the reason that it's so important to use all these tricks and clear the hard dungeon as soon as possible is when you clear it for the first time, you're going to get a piece of furniture, just like from the easy dungeon, that creates stamina in your guild house, which then allows you to get more farming done every day and progress faster and get to the very hard dungeon faster. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the very hard dungeon has the same kind of furniture as a first-time clear reward. So that's why it's so important to find a strong guild and get about 2 teams worth of units raised up when you face this dungeon. Again, I took it on at level 45, 46. I think that's doable because, as you could see, there really were no 3-star units in my main team that I used to take out most of the boss's health, other than my guild leader's tank. And anybody can get into a guild that has at least one guy who's pretty strong and has a tank in their support slot. So I really recommend trying to tackle the hard dungeon as soon as you unlock it, especially if you're at least level 45. Hopefully these tips and tricks help you to get there on your first try, like I was able to do. And one thing to remember, once you get that piece of guild house furniture, make sure you go in and place it in your guild right away so it can start making stamina for you. And while you're in your guild house, don't forget that you can upgrade your functional furniture. So the desk makes skip tickets, then you have 3 tables that make experience potions, mana, and stamina. You can't upgrade the ones that you get from dungeons, but the ones that you start with can be upgraded with the rupees that you get from various things in the game. So make sure that you're always upgrading those. I would do the stamina one first every time, then do the other ones as you're able, but make sure that those are always upgraded so that you're getting the maximum possible rewards from your guild house. That's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, or subscribe to see more videos like this one, and have a great day.